And I like just tell him everything that had happened, from ICU till that day. And he looks at me and he's on this like chair, this stool that has wheels. And I was
Mhm.
sitting down in a chair. He wheels himself close to me, like wee, and he goes, I just want you to know you're not crazy. He
Wow.
said, the half of your head on the right side, your eyes, your nose, everything is all swollen. He said it's severely swollen. I said,
Mm.
"Oh, thank you. I knew that, but nobody agreed with me." And he said, I said, "Can you help me?" He goes, "Yes, I can." I said, "Oh my gosh, thank you. What can you do?" He's like, "Well, first we have to get the swelling down. After we do that," he goes, it's a treatment. It's going to be long because you were very, very inflamed." I said, "Okay." And those treatments were hellaciously painful.
Mm.
It was like 7-inch needles going into my skull,
Oh my goodness. And
shooting.
any justification or like
Yes,
what was going on or
steroids,
what had happened?
steroids, and something else to bring everything down. So he said, after we get this down, then I can open it up, your incision, to see what is happening back there.
Mm.
I said, okay, I'm game, man. Somebody needs to look back there. I
Mhm.
heard, I literally heard tearing when she yanked that pillow. I heard it. So,
Wow.
all right. So I'm smiling, getting these shots, screaming bloody murder. And that dear nurse that was there, she was a large woman, and she would go, and my head would go in her bosom, just crying, like, oh my gosh, it hurts so bad. Anyway,
Mm.
it went down. And we had the open surgery, the exploratory surgery. I wake up, and my husband's there. I'm talking to him, and Dr. French walks in and he says, he's got this big grin on his face. He goes, "Hi." I'm like, "Hi." He said, "You will never be in pain again." I said, "What did you find?"
Mm.
He said, "I found 3 nerves unattached." I said, "What?" I said,
Oh
"What did
no.
you do?" He said, "I attached them." He said, "From here on, from this day on, you will never feel that slicing pain again." I said, "Really?" He said, "Really." He said, "Go. You are good to go." And I did not
Mm.
ever feel that razor blade pain again. So I'm
Mm.
so grateful for him.
Mhm.
So at that time and point, I felt like I got a new leaf in life. Okay.
Mhm.
New journey here. And I had thought, you know what? I always wanted to act when I was a child. I'm 65. So in the 60s, I didn't want no yellow face on
Mhm.
stage or anywhere. Okay. They whitewashed us, by the way, if you can remember those times.
Mhm.
And so I was always behind the scene. Okay, like on plays and all that. I did hair, I did makeup, I did props, I did all sorts of things behind. Okay. And so I was fine with that. I knew my place. I grew up on Long Island, and back in that time in the 50s and the 60s, it's all white bread. Okay, there's Italians,
Mhm.
Jews, and Polish people. That is it. There is no other color. We are there because my father graduated from college and got a job at Grumman's, which was on Bethpage next to Hicksville. So we got a new home in Hicksville. And my grandfather owned chains of restaurants on Long Island, just
Mm.
kept on opening it all. So we were like known, we're the restaurant people, because
Mhm.
of my grandfather. Anyway, so I decided to go acting because I thought, you know what? They need old people.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna go out there and see what it's like, They don't always need 20-year-olds, right? So
Right.
I thought, I'm going. So I went to the library first and took out every single book you can on acting. Everything was all about acting, not the business side of it. And my skills are in sales and marketing. So I thought, you know what? There's no book on the business side. I'm gonna write a book on it because
Mm.
people need to
Mhm.
know how to promote themselves and how to be camera ready when you're,
Right.
doing a self
Right.
tape and all that, framing, lighting, you name it. It's in the book, right? All right. So I do that, and then I got coaches because I wanted, as I was on set, I was watching. It was like little ants working, everybody doing having some type of job. So I'm watching the
Mhm.
director, I'm watching the producer. Producers usually come on the set too. And then, for you filmmakers, you already know this, but then there's hair, there's makeup, there's wardrobe, there's props, there's camera, one, two, boy, grip, all these people. I was like, whoa. And I thought, you know what? I could do that. I could do that.
Mhm.
I could do
Mhm.
that. Oh, I don't know how to do that, but I could take a class on that. So I went and took classes on everything that I didn't know.
Wow. And
And
so
so when
this was after this trauma
yes,
that you experienced.
yes.
And we want to hear a little bit more about the after, but I wanted to circle back just a little bit to just dig a little bit into the turning point and the pain and the trauma that you experienced, and then of course the victory at the end
Hmm.
and the healing. What did that teach you? What did you think at that time that you were finally at the end of this particular journey of pain? I heard an abusive hospital staff member, a nurse. We have heard about abuse and discrimination in the healthcare system. So I was feeling your story as you were telling it because this unfortunately happens too often,
Yeah.
more than it really should. And these are stories that nobody hears.
Hmm.
Nobody probably would even believe,
Hmm.
you know. Um, but I just wanted to circle back a little bit and what that experience taught you and showed you because we see that you were a victim,
Hmm.
but then you were victorious at
Yes.
the end and you were able, you learned some lessons. There
Yes.
was something that you were able to glean from that experience, and then
Mhm.
you were able to go on. And it just sounds like you just went on and was doing even more. You just did more after that. So speak to that a little bit, Judy, as we decide or as we transition, if you will, into the next part of our presentation.
Okay. Well, what I learned is that I have no control over my life,
Mm,
none at all. And what it did for me was it brought me closer to God, to
mm-hmm,
trust Him, because there's not a thing I can do. Nobody could help me at that time before Dr. French came into my life. And I just gave up on, trying to have control over my life, and I surrendered.
mm-hmm,
And by doing that, I felt God's presence even more. That I was, even though I was going through all this, and he didn't cause this to happen,
mm-hmm,
but God does allow things to happen because Satan goes to him and asks for permission to torture
mm-hmm.
and tamper with his people, you know?
Just like the story of Job that
Just
you
like Job, and
shared.
I would
Mm-hmm,
always think of Job, that no matter what I went through, I will always love God. I will always praise him, pain or no pain, joy
mm-hmm,
or not. And so that drew me closer to obedience, knowing that I kept on these words kept on coming to me. This too shall pass. Because I'm not going
mm,
to accept that this is it forever.
mm-hmm,
You know, even though I was in pain, I was empowering myself with God, with His power, that this too shall pass. Okay. God did not have me come and live on this earth to be in pain like this.
mm-hmm.
I'm His child. I'm His heir. I mean, I'm His princess. I'm His queen.
Right.
I don't belong here. So
Hmm.
I had hope. It gave me hope that this too shall pass, and I'm not taking this. Okay. I'm going to do everything in my power to overcome this with God.
Hmm.
Yeah. So that
And
is,
while you were experiencing that, I know you probably had a sense of helplessness.
oh,
You
yeah.
were at the mercy of the hospital, the staff, and then, not to mention what even brought you in there. But as you tell the story, as you've told the story to others, I'm sure that people have been inspired. People were able to feel a sense of hope.
Yes. Yes. They have. They see that, with what I've gone through, and this is just one out of the 58 things that I've gone through. Uh,
Hmm.
they they're inspired and they're encouraged to know that what she went through was really bad, and
Hmm.
she knew where to draw her strength, because we don't have
Yes.
strength when we're a victim. We don't. We just, you know back in the day before I was close to God, I used to be a worry wart, and I
Mm.
and I would just always think that I deserved this for whatever reason. All the things that had happened, that I'm probably not a good person. I'm always a victim. This is happening, that's happening. And something, just as I received Christ in my life in 1982 from a accident that caused me to be disabled for 3 years when I was
Mm.
20, I had decided that, you know, this God that I'm reading about seems to love me
Hmm.
so much that, he's here for me. He's here to help me. I need to
Hmm.
tap into that, you know?
Absolutely. And
So, yeah.
and have you noticed when I don't know how you would tell someone all of those stories. So that's why we need to get your book and we need to, you need to write a biography. All these stories, I'm sure, you need to get them
Mhm.
down. But have you noticed that sometimes when you're talking to people and you're sharing your journey, does it inspire them to share theirs as well?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
so there is power in storytelling.
Yes,
There's
indeed.
a healing there. And I wanted to read a little bit so we can get back into our conversation, but I always like to pull some information from either an academic article, but my snippet this evening is from Psychology Today.
Oh.
So I'd like to circle back and revisit a few ways that storytelling heals.
Mhm.
First, I want to mention a small snippet, as I mentioned, as I normally do, from an article out of Psychology Today that was posted online July 2024. The article is entitled The Healing Power of Stories. One of the key points from the article is this: inspiring clients. So this is from maybe a psychologist point of view. Um, Inspiring clients to tell their stories helps them integrate memories and make meaning of their experiences. Additionally, another excerpt from this article states the goal of therapy. So if someone's in therapy and they're trying to deal with trauma,
Mhm.
so the goal of therapy is to transform trauma and resolve its painful effects across physical,
Mhm.
mental, emotional, and spiritual
Yes.
domains. This
Yes.
involves helping clients tell their story, access and integrate memories and feelings, and make meaning of their experiences. So, as clients gain control over their extremes,
Mhm.
you definitely shared an extreme story this evening, Judy. Thank you so much. They
Mhm.
reconstruct their lives and choose new paths. So your life came back together and you were on fire in
I
more
was
ways than one. You
I
were willing and raring to go with the strength and the help of God.
Amen.
So I think that the excerpt from this article is fitting
Mhm.
with our subject matter this evening, not only as it pertains to how we are beginning to tell the story of Emily Thornton in the Atonement series, but also in your story, Judy.
Mm.
The prompts on this slide suggest that